Hi, everybody. It's so nice out here today that I decided I wanted to read outdoors. We're finishing our last Flat-Stanley chapter, is chapter 5, Arthur's Good Idea. And then I have a really fun Flat-Stanley activity for you guys to do after we get done with the book. And then next week, we'll start a whole new book. I haven't picked out which book I want to read yet, but it'll be a good one. All right, chapter 5, Arthur's Good Idea. For a while, Stanley Lambchop was a famous name. Everywhere that Stanley went, people stared and pointed at him. He could hear them whisper, "Over there, Agnes, over there! That must be Stanley Lambchop, the one who caught the sneak thieves!" and things like that. But after a few weeks of the whispering and the staring stopped, people had other things to think about. Stanley didn't mind. Being famous had been fun, but enough was enough. And then came a further change, and it was not a pleasant one. People began to laugh and make fun of him as he passed by. "Hello, super skinny," they would shout, even ruder things about the way he looked. Stanley told his parents how he felt. "It's the other kids I mostly mind," he said. "They don't like me anymore because I'm different. Flat." "Shame on them," Miss Lambchop said. "It's wrong to dislike people for their shapes, or their religion, for that matter, or the color of their skin." "I know," Stanley said. "Only maybe it's impossible for everybody to like everybody." "Perhaps," said Miss Lambchop, "but they can try." Later that night, Arthur Lambchop was woken by the sound of crying. In the darkness, he crept across the room and knelt by Stanley's bed. "Are you okay?" he said. "Go away," Stanley said. "Don't be mad at me," Arthur said. "You're still mad because I let you get tangled the other day when you were in my kite, I guess." "Skip it, will you?" Stanley said. "I'm not mad. Go away." "Please, let's be friends." Arthur couldn't help crying a little too. "Oh, Stanley," he said, "please tell me what's wrong." Stanley waited for a long time before he spoke. "The thing is," he said, "I'm just not happy anymore. I'm tired of being flat. I want to be a regular shape again, like other people. But I'll have to go on being flat forever, and it makes me sick." "Oh, Stanley," Arthur said. He dried his tears in a corner of Stanley's sheets and could think of nothing more to say. "Don't talk about what I just said," Stanley told him. "I don't want the folks to worry. That would only make it worse." "Be brave," Arthur said. "You really are." He took hold of Stanley's hand. The two brothers sat together in the darkness, being friends. They were both still sad, but each one felt a little bit better than he had before. And then, suddenly, though he was not even trying to think, Arthur had an idea. He jumped up and turned on the light and ran into the big storage box where toys and things were kept. He began to rummage in the box. Stanley sat up in bed to watch. Arthur flung aside the football and some lead soldiers and airplane models and lots of wooden blocks. And then he said, "Aha! I have found what he wanted. An old bicycle pump." He held it up, and him and Stanley looked at each other. "Okay," Stanley said at last, "but take it easy." He put the end of the long pump hose in his mouth and clamped his lips tightly about so that no air would escape. "I'll go slowly," Arthur said. "If it hurts or anything, wiggle your hand at me." He began to pump. At first, nothing happened, except that Stanley's cheeks bulged a bit. Arthur watched his hand, but there was no wiggle signal, so he pumped on. Then, suddenly, Stanley's top half began to swell. It's working, shouted Arthur, pumping away. Stanley spread his arms so that the air could get around inside him more easily. He got bigger and bigger. The bottoms of his pajama top burst off. Pop, pop, pop. A moment more and he was all rounded out. Head and body, arms and legs, but not his right foot. That foot stayed flat. Arthur stopped pumping. "It's like trying to do the very last bit of those long balloons," he said. There's a silly picture. "Maybe a shake would help." Stanley shook his right foot twice, and with a little whooshing sound, it swelled to match the left one. There stood Stanley Lambchop as he used to be, as if he had never been flat at all. "Thank you, Arthur," Stanley said. "Thank you very, very much." The brothers were shaking hands when Mr. Lambchop strode into the room with Miss Lambchop right behind him. "We heard you," said Mr. Lambchop. "Up and talking when you ought to be asleep, eh?" "Shame on George," said Miss Lambchop. "Stanley's round again." "You're right," said Mr. Lambchop, noticing. Good for you, Stanley. I'm the one who did it, Arthur said. I blew him up. Everyone was terribly excited and happy, of course. Miss Lambchop made hot chocolate to celebrate the occasion, and several toasts were drunk to Arthur for his cleverness. When the little party was over, Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop tucked the boys back into their beds and kissed them. Then they turned out the light. Good night, they said. Good night, said Stanley and Arthur. It had been a long and tiring day. Very soon, all the Lambchops were asleep. The end. And that is all the stories of Flat-Stanley, his original adventure. So today, I wanted to introduce you guys on how to make your own Flat-Stanleys. I have one here. I already colored him a little bit with his orange shirt and blue pants and brown hair. And remember, there's a front and a back. This template will be available for you guys in the comment section of this video right after I'm done sharing my video. Let me fix this. So you can print out your own Flat-Stanley. You have to remember to print it front and back so that he has a backside. If you don't know how to do that, you can ask an adult to help you. You can color him however you want to. You can color him to look just like you. You can color him to look just like how you want to be when you grow up. You can color him just like he looks in the book with the orange shirt and blue pants, however you want to. But then I want you to send him to one of your friends and family. That means they can be across the street or 3 states away, it doesn't matter. And ask them to take a picture with Flat-Stanley in their most favorite place to go. And then they can mail it back to you. And then after you've done it a few different times with a few different people, you can see all the different pictures and places Flat-Stanley has gone. So this is going to be available in the comment section right after this video finishes. Thank you. Have a good week.